Good afternoon. Welcome to the tea table. Happy Valentine's Day. I am so happy you've joined me. It's probably the crowning tea talk of the year is Valentine's Day. And I was thinking I love the reds, the pinks, the golds, and mix them all together and you do get the magenta fuchsia color of 2023. And I have on my necklace today some little hearts that are fuchsia. Do you see that? And then I have some earrings that have little hearts that match. And then some other jewels. And I feel that this color, this sparkly maroon, deep burgundy, shiny, that reminds me of what I really think Valentine's Day is. You know, when you get the beautiful heart candy, generally it's a deep red, shiny, and I love that. It's very traditional, and I love classic traditional things, particularly in the world we live in now. We want to hang on to everything good and pass it to the next generation, right? And that's what the tea talk really is all about. It's finding all the good in our lives and taking time to thank one another and to thank God for all the good things and reflect upon that. Well, if you haven't gotten your tea yet, please pause, get your tea, and I'll be waiting for you. Well, I tried to think, how can I make this special for everyone today? And I thought I have to sit at the table. Behind me is the sun shining. Hope you can see it. And my table is very full. And I have special things to show you. But before we pour out and get started, I want to show you the brooch I'm wearing, and I have to stand up to show you because my camera is so small. But do you see I'm holding my shawl together with this brooch, and it's a bumblebee brooch with pearls and black and a few shiny rhinestones. And it's very French. And I think Valentine's Day should have a touch of French in it. And the reason it's French, Napoleon chose the bumblebee as his symbol. And there was a reason for that. Because the bumblebee works very hard, is very orderly, and produces sweetness and nourishment for others. Isn't that a good symbol? So I'm wearing the bumblebee today. It seemed to hold together this sparkly shawl I have on. And then I have a little crown up here, and I thought that's Queen of Hearts. I think all of the ladies on the Tea Talk should wear a crown for Valentine's. Be Queen of Hearts, the Queen of Hearts. Don't you love that symbol? Well, I was thinking about Saint Valentine. But first, let's pour out. And while I get to my tea kettle, let me show you what I have, particularly for the children. All of you are children in your hearts. It's a very I put this on a cake. I have a ruby pedestal cake plate, but this is such a special heart cookie. I featured it on there. And let me just pick it up and show it to you. It is so big and so beautiful. And it's a little designer cookie my dear friend Robin brought me yesterday. She came to visit. We had a little tea party, and she gave me a violin lesson. And this cookie comes from Steeped in Comfort, a darling little tea room in Lakewood, Washington. So there's little tea rooms everywhere. But before I put the cookie back, I want to show you the little plate. This is my mother's plate. I don't know where she got it, but from my earliest childhood, this was one of our special plates she would bring out for birthday parties or special events. And I loved this pink. It's almost a magenta pink. And the people are it's the black, figures. I love that cutout, lady and man. Very French, and he's bowing, and she has her beautiful bouquet from him. So it's a very romantic plate. I love china that has figures or themes, and we're going to talk about that today a little bit. So I'm going to put this cookie right here where you can keep your eye on it. And, for years, I always made heart-shaped cookies when my children were young, and then we would frost them. And that's what I'm going to talk about later. Something that Robin, the violin teacher, for years, she still does it. I don't know how many years. My children were a part of it. Every Valentine's Day, she has a gathering of her students, and she has all the plain hearts, all the frostings and the sprinkles, and they all get to make a cookie and go home. And then she has a special musical presentation for them. It isn't a rehearsal, it's more of a historical. One year she talked about Chopin, one year about Mendelssohn, one year about different history of music. So it's a very interesting evening. And then I think she always had homemade lasagna. My kids never forgot that. If you're a teacher, do something special for your students on Valentine's Day. Now, that's a big thing to do for some of you, but something little the children will always remember. So Robin came to give me a violin lesson yesterday and brought me my cookie. Wasn't that special? As I said, we are all children inside, and we need to be. We need to stay green and fresh and young inside. Jesus even told all of his followers, become as little children to enter the kingdom. And that means keep an open heart. Stay free, stay green, stay fresh. And if you feel you aren't that way, pause and take time for you. You have to take care of yourself in order to take care of others. It's true. Well, I have chosen a really beautiful silver pot for today on the tea tray. And I'll show you the tea tray. I just think Valentine's Day, such a romantic day. We need to go all out as much as we can. And so this is just a really beautiful silver set. I've used it many times on the tea table with you, but it always is one of my favorites. I love it. And I put a few little pink carnations on, and behind me is a bouquet of carnations in I don't know if you can see, in a ruby red glass vase at the center of my table. And then I have candles burning for us. Hard to see with all of the things, but do you see? We're going to have candlelight here. So, okay, now the cup. I actually have the table set, and I don't know if you can see the plate there and the cup, but the plates are so pretty. I'm going to show you. This is what the place setting looks like. I have red chargers and pink plates. Everything is red and pink. And this is really nice. I love this for spring and Valentine. I love pink china from this time on through the summer. It's so nice. And then I have matching cups for that, but I chose a cup today to show you that I just love. I love this cup. I think it speaks of Valentine's Day. It's got the pink stripes. It has pink, gold, roses. It literally has everything in it that we would love or want. So I'm going to pour out, and I'm going to move the flowers for a minute and take the pot. I'm kind of turning myself around here so that I can be with you and also be at the table. Let's pull this up so you can see. And then I like my little splash of milk. Now, some of you like sugar. I'll tell you a nice thing to have at a Valentine's table are sugar cubes. You can still get them. When I was a little girl, that was very special. If people had sugar cubes, that was a special dinner or a special tea. And they're very nice. They're very old-fashioned. And you get the silver tongs. You can still get them. Well, should we try our tea? Oh my goodness, it's so delicious. Happy St. Valentine's Day. I've been studying about St. Valentine. He is such a beautiful person in history. And I was pondering all the holidays, almost every holiday we celebrate is a Christian holiday. And did you know holiday means holy day? That's what it actually means. That's what it comes from. And throughout history, since the time of Christ, the church was the center of the world. From 400 on, when Rome fell and Augustine wrote City of God, from that time on, Christianity became the dominant religion in the West. And that is the beginning of the Middle Ages. Well, Saint Valentine died a martyr in 300 because they were still not allowing Christians to worship. And what happened was he became a believer and he was a priest and he was helping people, and the Romans didn't care for it. And so the judge came and they tried him in a case. But then the one man, he was the jailer, he had a daughter and he was kind of in charge. He must have been more than just a jailer. He was in charge of a position in Rome, and his daughter was blind. And he said to St. Valentine, if you can cure her, then I will let you go. And so Valentine prayed for her, and she received her sight, this beautiful girl. Well, this jailer was so moved, he said, me and my house will become Christians. And there were 44 adults in his household. So that would mean all his sons, his relatives, they all became Christian and became baptized together. This is what they did. It was kind of like that, me and my house, we will serve the Lord. They all became Christians. And St. Valentine continued on. And so they took him to the Roman general, and well, actually not the general, the emperor, the one that was really in charge, Claudius, and he liked Saint Valentine so much. And so then he talked to Saint Valentine, but Valentine told him about Christianity, and Claudius, of course, they said, well, and he told him he should not be worshiping false gods. Well, Romans didn't like that. He said, you have to denounce your God and worship our gods, or you will die. And so sadly, St. Valentine gave his life as a martyr. And so in the 5th century, after the church had become very organized, everyone knew this story. And so they made him what they called a saint. And what that really meant was a great person in history, like you'll hear Saint Augustine, Saint Patrick. It means that the church is recognizing their contribution to the world, to others, and to Christianity. So Valentine then, before he died, it said that he cut out of parchment a heart and wrote a note to the jailer's daughter. And that's how the tradition of sending Valentines came. Everything has a story behind a story. And so all through the Middle Ages and today, the church honors Saint Valentine. And it became a holiday of love and sweetness and giving candy and writing notes. And isn't that a beautiful story? And just like next month, we're going to talk again about St. Patrick's Day. Well, he also, that's a day on the Christian calendar. And I started thinking, we had those during the Middle Ages. They started having so many saints and they would take the whole day off and let the peasants have the day off, and everyone would go to church and then have a party and a feast together. Well, they weren't getting enough work done, and finally they said, let's just put all the saints on one day and call it All Saints' Day. That's where that came from. November 1st. The next day, November 2nd, is All Souls' Day. That means you remember all the people that have gone before you. Aunts, uncles, grandparents, family lineage. It was to honor the fathers and mothers of faith and of the past, to show honor and respect and gratefulness. That gives life good, healthy meaning and teaches children to respect the past and the good. And during that period of Middle Ages goes, basically you have early church, that's Christ, to 325. When Constantine has the Council of Nicaea, and 312, they declare Christianity is legal, all the persecutions stop. That's the end of what we call early church. That's 3 centuries. Then you have the beginning of the Middle Ages, Augustine. He wrote City of God. He was there when Rome fell, and he wrote Confessions, and he's considered the greatest in church history next to St. Paul. And someday I'll tell his story. I'm not going to do that today, but that's a fascinating story. Amazing story. So the Middle Ages is a long period. It goes all the way up to Renaissance. And Renaissance means rebirth. And then Renaissance is right on the back of Reformation. They're right there together. So that's how I put church history together. It's nice to have a timeline. We'll talk about that another time also. However, the saint, when Martin Luther came on the scene, in 1515 and nailed his theses, well, he chose to do that the night before All Saints' Day, because all the people were in the town, celebrating, kind of like a Mardi Gras, because All Saints' Day was really a holy day. So that's why he chose October 31st. It was called All Hallowed Eve. That's where Halloween actually originated. It's been taken to different levels, but it goes back to the Middle Ages. And I think one of the things about the Middle Ages I love is the cathedrals. And often they took 3 generations or 4 generations to build a cathedral, over 100 years. When you go to a cathedral, you'll realize the work in them is just beyond anything we see today. And people that were very devout, they were doing this as their gift to God. And they would even carve little prayers, secret prayers they found in the bricks hidden in the cathedrals. But the cathedral was to be the tallest building in the town with a cross on top. And that was saying Jesus Christ rules and reigns over all the earth. That's why you're going to see when King Charles now becomes, coronated, you'll see the royal orb, and it's got the cross over the world. Well, that was saying kings, priests, people, all people bow to the cross. The cross is the highest. The king isn't the highest, the cross is. Isn't that beautiful? So when I thought of the holidays, I thought, what a great Christian heritage we have. And even new holidays like Martin Luther King, what is he most famous for? His biblical sermon on Moses and the children of Israel getting freedom and coming to the promised land. It's all a biblical theme of hope and deliverance from bondage and slavery. There it is again. This is what we need to pass to the next generation. And we can do it in many, many ways. We don't have to be limited to just giving someone a book or giving someone a class. We can talk about this as we walk together and paint together and study the great artists, study the musicians, find out what gave them their ideas. And almost always the greatest art, Leonardo da Vinci, Rembrandt, Michelangelo, all of their themes are biblical themes. The Sistine Chapel, Handel's Messiah, Bach's Christmas Oratorio, Beethoven, his great works, Mozart, the Requiem, all of it. We have a great heritage. We're rich. We are not paupers. We are rich. Don't miss out on what you have. You have to read and study to know who you are and what you have, what you possess in the heritage. I am going to put my tea down. And I thought for Valentine's Day, for me anyway, I like to go on a special date with my husband. And if we can't go on the day, we go around it. And I like to dress up and go out somewhere nice to eat. And so this is a nice little purse. I thought this is a Valentine purse, isn't it? It's a vintage reproduction little purse that holds just what you need. And it's very, very fun. Let's see if I can. They call this clasp. This is an old-fashioned clasp. It's called the kiss clasp. Isn't that interesting? So it does have a romantic feeling. And I was trying to find for our music today, I have somewhere the most beautiful CD of violin playing love songs. And I thought it would be on the Apple Music, but I couldn't find it. But it is so beautiful. So maybe you can find it and play it, because it was a violin. The CD I have was done by a man. He did it for his wife. And he played, oh my goodness, Love Me Tender, Love Me True. And then all of the beautiful love songs, classical and from the 20th century also. And that violin was just so rich. I'm going to find that CD and have to play it for you. I just think the music makes the evening, right? Or makes the holiday. Well, I have something else really special. We went all out. It's Valentine's Day. And this is my 3-tiered, very special. I save this for tea parties. And usually what I do is have little sandwiches on the bottom, or scones on the bottom, little sandwiches, and then the little cakes on top. But today I have these special cakes, and they are for you. They are, now when they're like this, they're called petite four, and they're very French and small, and lots of tea, and just a little piece of cake is all you need. That's right. You know, I think I should just set this right here so that we can see it. Isn't that beautiful? Sometimes there's just another way to do things. Can you see that? I think you can. It's hard for me to see what you're seeing. And then we'll just put our cookie. Take one more peek at this beautiful cookie. I mean, this is, to me, just spectacular. A heart cookie. And I hope that some of you make them with your children or just four people. You know, they're not hard to make, little cookie cutters and just some sprinkles, and invite a few people in and have a tea party. Why not? Well, I hope that you have a wonderful Valentine's Day, and think about Saint Valentine. He gave his all. He was born in a time that was very difficult, but he gave so much good to others, no matter what it was like around him. And that's what we need to do. And I feel that the most important thing for all of us is to reflect and remember all of the good things we have been given and pass them on to the next generation. Well, thank you so much for joining me. And don't forget the bumblebee. I'll show you the bumblebee again. I think he is so fun. I have some little bumblebee steak knives that have a bumblebee on them, and they're from France. And that's how I learned about it. I thought, well, what does the bumblebee mean? It's a good symbol, and it's orderly, hard work, producing sweet products, nutritious products for others. Very good. Well, have fun. Have a nice weekend. Hopefully the sunshine will stay for us. And I will look forward to seeing you next time. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and push the notification bell and the like button, and you'll be informed on the next Tea Talk. And share with a friend. This is for everyone. And I can't do it without you. So please send a comment if you feel so led. Thank you, and God bless, and happy Valentine's Day to all.